teach them right like they should be, and you're just gonna chuck them out there to hoodlums kind of thing.
I looked at that it was an honor for him to have these two people as guests. And I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's the way I saw it. And it was his responsibility as the Lord's person to try to do whatever he could that was within his power, to keep them from being harmed in any way. And, I would have probably, being the mom, I'd have said, have you lost your mind? What's wrong with you? That ain't going to happen. But
Well, yeah, and again, I think you're hitting it right on it, because to me it's a very perplexing suggestion that he gives. It's like, okay, why in the world would you offer your two daughters in place of these two guys? But then, again, you've got to remember the culture, and then also the guests that he had. Okay, so the very first thing is the culture. If you had a guest in your home, then it was your sole responsibility to see to it that the guests that were in your home, that they were safe and that they were well fed, well taken care of. That was your responsibility to have guests in your home. But not only that, but on top of that, you now have two servants of the Lord, two angels or messengers from God Himself. And so not only do you have the duty to make sure that they're safe, but now you're wanting to make sure that now the two messengers from God are now protected and safe. And you're willing to, and basically Lot was at the stage where he was willing to do whatever he needed to do to see to it that these two messengers were safe. Now, there's a lot of things we can say, well, if they were messengers of God, couldn't they have just gone out and just wiped them all out and all that kind of stuff? Sure, they could have. In fact, they destroyed the cities. But he was taking seriously to heart that commitment that he made, that they were going to be protected under his watch, no matter what it took. And so, again, it's a very perplexing offer that he gives, but he was taking to heart this commitment that he made by inviting them.
Well, my daughter's got, my two daughters have men that they're getting ready to marry. You want men? Take them.
take the sons-in-law.
That's right. The sons-in-law. We can have
Name of blood gone.
That's great.
Oh, Lord.
He was such a righteous man. Why did he live there?
What's that?
I thought about that too.
If Lot was such a righteous man, why did he live?
Okay, well, what we see is, in fact, we see where he was, they considered him an alien at one time, and then he's accepted. In fact, they said in verse 9, get out of our way, they replied, and they said, this fellow came here as an alien. Now he wants to play judge. We'll treat you worse than them. So at one time, he moved to this city, okay? So whether he knew exactly what the city was like when he first moved there, we're not sure. We don't know exactly what he knew about. But what we do know is that eventually they became settled. In fact, at the very beginning of it, we see where he's sitting at the gate of the city, and that's where he meets the two angels. Really, anybody that sat at a front gate or the entrance of a city were considered watchmen or overseers of the city. And so, in other words, you had some type of honor or respect in that city. And so he really kind of established himself as somebody that was due respect and honor, because he wouldn't have had that position. He wouldn't have been at the gate watching the city if he didn't have that type of position. And so,
was he spending more time trying to protect the city of people coming in, because the city was terrible?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And so I think that really what happens is, and again, we got to put kind of the human emotional type stuff into this play here. He moved into the city.
Didn't he move there because of separation from, was it Abraham and Lot? They had to go like.
Oh yeah, they split.
So it's like he went his way.
Yep.
God told him, do your thing, separate, go your separate ways.
Exactly.
And so he moved there under God's, I guess, push, to not be. Him and Abraham couldn't have the same space, so you go your way, you go your way, and
yeah, that's exactly.
he wound up there because of that anyway.
Yeah, and so that's what happened. So I mean, he's hanging out there, and he made that city his home. And typically, what happens? Okay, let's think about this for a moment. What happens when you make a city or a town your home? What typically happens with your perception of the town or city? What will typically happen when if you move to a city or into a town and you've lived there for multiple years and you've really established in that city, what usually happens with your perception of that city or that town?
I think you own it.
Yeah, okay, you may think you own it.
You like it.
It becomes
Your home, it becomes your home. right? Sometimes our perception can be altered some. Now, I'm sure that he did. That's almost guaranteed that he noticed, evil in the town. I mean, again, he was established in the city, so he would have known about the evil that was in there. However, when you make a place like that your home, sometimes you can downgrade it some. You can play it down a little bit and say, well, yeah, it's pretty evil, but maybe not be as evil. Yeah, your perception changes just a little bit. And so we see him. That's basically what he was established. Because again, it's like how Freddie had pointed out. They were hesitant to leave, right? I mean, the angel was like, "All right, y'all get up out of here," and the angel had to drag them out. He was like, "No, y'all got to go." But it was because again, that was their home. They made their living there. They made their home there. They lived there. Their daughters had met a couple guys. They're getting ready to marry. I mean, so they were well established in this town, and so. Yeah, they probably saw some of the evil, but again, it wouldn't have just been easy for them to say, hey, we're just going to pick up and leave. It was a town that they were committed to staying in and living in.
Well, do you think he went around and tried to, get people to do right and believe in Jesus and do this and change their ways?
Because
they couldn't find 5 people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. See, we don't know exactly what all he did say or didn't say, or what he
Instead of sitting in that
attempted.
gate all the time, he should have been out trying to witness.
And maybe he did. I mean, and it's possible
Maybe
he
that's why he
did.
was sitting there. Everybody coming and going, hey, look, you got to do better. You don't need to come to the city. This city's bad. You don't need to come here. Go another way.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't know. We don't know exactly what all he tried to do or he didn't try to do for the city or any of that. All we know is that they found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So whatever that means or however they did that, it's between them and God, because we're not told in this story exactly how they did that. And so, but the guy's like, all right, you found favor, but the city's gone. All right, so that's basically what we've got to work with. Now here's a question for you. Do you think that the time that we're living in now is more or less degenerate than the times recorded in this passage?
Similar.
You think it's similar?
Similar.
All right, why do you think it's similar?
Degenerate means, is it worse or better? More, has it degenerated worse to worse?
It seems worse because there's more people.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more people in this world than there were at this time.
I guess my thing is that worldwide, it's more.
It's not just one. It's not
more
just one or two
accepted.
cities.
These kind of things are more accepted worldwide. And I've had people, I don't understand why you see that as being so bad. And I was like, he destroyed 2 cities because of this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely not the right thing to be doing.
Yeah. Well, what if God acted today the exact same way He did in Genesis 18 and 19?
World population would go.
There'd be a whole lot of destroyed cities.
Yeah, better place.
There's probably a lot better places.
Las Vegas and San Francisco would be gone.
I know they call Wilmington like little like Hollywood or anything, but I mean just going 3 hours south from here, it's crazy the amount of not just like liberalism, but just the amount of acceptance that they have towards just a lifestyle that it took me at least a year of me living there to get used to people talking about it like it wasn't this big thing, like it wasn't something to be secretive about, like they're proud of everything that they do. You know what I mean? I'm just not used to people being outward and, about like them being gay or them being lesbian or them doing this, them doing that, and I'm just like, okay, whoa, like, you're proud of this? Why are you telling me this? Like, I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy just to think that people actually define themselves as by doing these things, by thinking this is cool, by living their life this way, because, it just blew my mind, because, like you said, I was born and raised in Belhaven, my little Bible Belt town, but going there really opened my eyes to see that there are people in Wilmington that I taught. I taught one girl, and I said something about church, and she's like, I've never been to church, and it completely blew me. I was just like, what? She's like, she said, not to my knowledge, I've ever stepped foot in a church. I was like, you've never been to a wedding? You've never been to a funeral? She's like, no. She's like, not in a church. And it's just different. It's completely different. And I think that a lot of things, like, it's crazy the amount of, I guess, like, values and religious, like, outlooks are lost, like, from generation to generation. Because she was like, yeah, my grandma did this and my grandma did that, but it's still just like that. It wasn't passed down with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's instilled in children that this is the way that you need to do things, this is the way you need to live your life, kind of thing. I mean, it really did blow my mind. Kind of being down there, being immersed in it, and having to get used to people, living that way and thinking that it's okay. And them judging me for the way that I live my life. Them looking at me like, oh, you really do that? Like, and then when I come back with, what I have to say, they don't have anything to say because they've never actually had someone stand up to them and be like, what you're doing is technically wrong, and they don't really have any answers because they've never been taught that that's wrong. And it's crazy. Exactly. They really don't. No morals whatsoever.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of the big university campuses and things like that. I mean, you're noticing the liberalism is just rampant in there, and they're really. I mean, they're trying to push away the whole concept of religion and God, and you express yourself how you want, and nobody can tell you wrong, and nobody can tell you whether you're right or wrong, but you need to find that on your own. And
we had restrictions on what we could like chalk on the sidewalks. We couldn't say like certain words because I was a part of like a Christian organization there, and we had like we wrote something. I mean, and it was kind of a slap in the face. I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, he was taking a bold step to try and get people to really think like, oh wow, like really, it wasn't. I mean, some people who are really liberal and think everything is politically, needs to be politically correct would be offended. And so they pretty much put in a complaint. So many people put in a complaint about the verse or whatever that he wrote down there, that they restricted what we could write. We had to get it approved for I think 2 months, before we could go out and chalk. So, I mean, and the thing is, it's becoming harder and harder for Christian organizations to have a regular room scheduled or to have, just to where you can meet. I mean, it is becoming a problem, and they had someone on ECU's campus trying to get up I don't know what the correct word for it is, but a devil worshiping meeting. Like they wanted to come together to worship the devil, on ECU's campus. And that completely, it's just
Probably let them do
exactly. That's what I'm saying. They can get that together, but I can't go write a Bible verse on the chalk, chalked on the sidewalk. And it's completely backwards.
well, what we see in this passage is basically the idea that the angels tell Lot and Lot's wife. He says, "Look, don't look back." And here's a question for you: How many times do we ever look back at our own lives and ever stumble over our past because we're so focused on things that could have been or should have been or would have been, instead of looking at the present and what God can do now? A lot, yeah.
We do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what are some ways that you can ever combat against that?
Trusting God more.
Trust in Him more and a lot of prayer.
That's the part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wake up every morning and tell yourself, look in the mirror and say, God has a plan for you. There's a reason that this happened. Don't think about it today.
Right.
I mean, literally, that's what it took for me. So.
Well, see, that's the thing. I just like using that analogy of how Sarah, Lot's wife was changed into a pillar of salt because she looked back, and the same thing can happen to us. We won't be not necessarily physically turned into a pillar of salt just because we constantly look back, but I truly believe that there's a lot of things that we could miss out on because either A, we hesitate to do something for the Lord because we're fearful because of things that have happened in our past or whatever it may be, and so we allow sometimes our past to dictate how we do things now. And basically what God says is He's saying, look, I don't want you looking back. He says, I don't want you focusing on what was behind, because that's behind. There's nothing you can do about your past today. There's nothing. Your past is in your past. There's not a thing you can do about it. So He says, basically He's saying, I don't want you looking back and focusing behind and then getting caught up on that and then stumbling and falling or even at times maybe leading to destruction because you're so focused on behind. Because what I want you to do is I want you to trust me today because of the things I have in store for you now. And so I just, I hope and pray that we can take to heart that whole